identified those 15 traits for visionaries. Which ones would you say are the most important traits? And have you seen anybody who has all of those traits? And do you need all of those traits to be truly successful?
Actually, no. There are 15 traits, but there are a few quite critical, of course. But, for instance, today you could say, hey, I got all these 15 traits. Believe me, tomorrow you will have maybe 12. And day after you might have even 7, because the things are changing. But that is a signal, okay, I'm losing here. I could tune something in. I can develop it and to make it stronger. That's okay. We're humans. We have different traits. We're facing different situations. But those 15 traits is more like a guideline of what you could develop and become stronger and better. Of course, I would be saying, you're in panic if you have less than 3 traits or 4 traits, something like that. But if you're just saying, okay, I have 7, 8 traits and I have them, the rest I could develop, that's fine. You know how to emphasize them. And what's important, you're looking at those traits at the different stages of your growth, very, very differently. Think for a moment. The first one, and is a very important one, people mainly talk about problems. Visionaries talk solutions. In fact, we all talk about problems, but to what extent? If you talk about problem like 10-15% of your time in order to recognize it, in order to understand it, that's fine. And you could get back to it at a certain point, just think, okay, let's remind it what kind of problem we want to solve. But if you are facing a new problem, of course you will be thinking more about it whilst you're looking for a solution. But many people really, really love problems. They're like kings of problems. Just like, can you go walk yourself out of that negative pattern to a pattern of a solution finder? Of course you are. It's your decision. What difficult, but what is more important, or fairly important, is can you deliver your messages in a simple way, or can you impact other people in a matter of minutes through simple solutions? This is not easy. That reflects how your mind is structured. If you have a mess in your head, you can't do it. But also, if you have a mess, you can't find a vision, because vision is very simple, elegant, and straightforward. But if you have a mess, you talk a lot, you're just trying to hide your lack of knowledge or understanding behind a lot of words. But if you are really clear about what you do, your message always would be simple. If you are really good at listening to people and understand what they're experiencing, what their problem, you could really articulate how you could help them in a matter of minutes, or even just like a few words. Can you develop it? Of course you are. But when we're facing a new challenge, it's a bit of a mess. And then comes normal. It's just a matter to, I wouldn't say control yourself, but understand yourself. It's about self-awareness. People are afraid of a change. But hey, if we are true leaders, if we are just visionaries, true leaders, you are inside of that change, so you don't feel it, because you are a center of that change. So there are quite a number of very interesting points which can be explored, and it's not a static form. It's not one-off. And it's not about evaluating you, because it has a column, I can. That means you can develop. It's not about your personality that, okay, you are such and such person, you wouldn't change. We could change a lot.
That's fascinating. And as you're saying, the mind has to be clear for you to develop that vision. So really, you need to be working on yourself. It's an inside-out game.
Absolutely, because it's not about listening to other people's opinions, which is important. Yet, they're judging you using their scale. But you know that you have a greater goal, use your scale.
And what is the best way for a leader to work on themselves?
I have a strange understanding. No one could become a professional on his own. You better learn from others. Of course, self-learning is important, but you need to have that means you could have a good coach, you could have a good mentor, you could talk to people who you really admire. You could learn a lot from them. But what's important, never put yourself in competition with some other person. You are in competition with yourself, with you yesterday. And that's what makes you, did I become better? Did I become stronger? Did I become better for people? Did I become stronger as a leader and I could lead my people better? But don't do benchmarking and against some kind of a personality or someone you don't really know.
Have you ever compared yourself with anybody else?
Oh, that was a trouble because old days, I do remember all those my first interviews on radio and podcast, and one of the most favorite questions hosts were keen to ask, what person you most admire? And I was, expecting me saying talking about Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, and saying, look, I spent the time on the fishing boats and I really admire those captains who are putting their skin into the game and they're responsible for bringing all that crew back home in one piece and with a lot of money. And it was like a shocking for them because for me, those guys are probably true leaders because they're risking their lives for you. No, and so we all got different experiences. Shiyen, it's purely, I can't put myself into somebody's shoes unless I will walk this distance myself. And therefore, I'm up against myself. I'm my greatest competitor.
I love that. Only if more of us thought that way. We need more visionary leaders to think that way.
Oh, we don't need a lot of visionary leaders. Look, we don't need 100% of the world population to be visionary leaders because as soon as you work with knowledge, as soon as you're involved with creation of something new, vision is important. Vision is important for our personal lives, to make our families happy because there are millions of unhappy families. They're living like in a social exchange, which is not good at all. We need to show our kids how to live a meaningful life. So vision is, in this sense, as a great mean of showing the next generation how to do something great. Yet, you don't need a vision for somebody who is working at a factory floor. Because they're working from 8 to 5, and they're saying, hey, I'm just living a simple, happy life. And they're just utilizing their base, working skills. Which is okay. But as soon as we talk about true leadership, you need to have a vision because you are leading people into the future, which you show them, and you have clear understanding what kind of future you're leading them to. If you don't have that vision, you're leading people either into the past or in the best scenario, leading people into the present. But in this sense, they don't need a leader. They're already here in that present.
In all your research and all the work that you've done, who is one visionary leader that you really admire for their vision and the work they've done?
Shiyen, I know a lot of these people, and I could my list is growing. Actually, I do continue now a research in the field of vision and vision leadership. I'm working on my next project, and my list is growing because I continue talking with the people from across the globe. And people are phenomenal. Marshall Goldsmith, John Spence, Gary Rich, David Katz. So the list is growing. The people, such a visionary leaders are around us. And, there is no need to look at those iconic names. They're great. Cool. The entire population of this planet is aware of them. But the real difference to our lives on a daily basis is done by those visionaries who are around us. For instance, if you had a great father who made your life meaningful or helped you to create, can we call him a visionary? Yes. We need vision at every levels, but we don't need everyone, as I mentioned. If you are right with how do you live, that's okay. Because also, don't forget, vision is a lot of responsibility. And people are not very much prepared to take that responsibility on their shoulders.
As they say, with more power, you get more responsibility.
The scale of vision or this is actually reflects the scale of responsibility.